Ever been arrested for slurping soup or outlawed from whistling underwater? In the land of liberty, some laws make you wonder if lawmakers were just bored. Let's dive into 52 of the weirdest, most absurd rules still lurking in America's law books. 1. In New Jersey, you can actually be arrested for slurping your soup in public. Yes, slurping. Somewhere in the vast bureaucratic jungle of New Jersey's legal system, someone once decided that loud noodle appreciation was a punishable offense. So, next time you're in a Jersey diner and feel the urge to channel your inner ramen connoisseur, hold it in, unless you want to be explaining to your cellmate that you're in for noisy soup behavior. And just imagine the police report. Subject was apprehended mid-broth. Crime of the century. 2. New Mexico takes its hat dancing very seriously. So seriously that it's actually illegal to dance while wearing a sombrero. Whether this law is protecting the dignity of headwear or just targeting fiesta enthusiasts, we may never know. But one thing's for sure, if you plan to bust a move in Santa Fe, better leave your festive headgear at home. It's like the state drew a line in the sand and said, you can shimmy, but only bareheaded. Somewhere, a mariachi band just cried a little inside. 3. In New Hampshire, don't even think about tapping your feet to music in a public place. That's right. If you're at a restaurant feeling the rhythm and start innocently toe-tapping under the table, boom, illegal. Apparently, rhythm is a gateway crime in the Granite State. It's like Footloose, but without the cool dance montage. Just a very confused waiter, a citation, and the sound of justice stifling your groove. So, if you ever catch someone swaying in their seat at a diner in New Hampshire, look away, Sonichko. You're witnessing a felony in progress. 4. Baltimore has a law so oddly specific it sounds like someone was really traumatized by hay once. There, it's illegal to throw hay bales from a second-floor window. Was it a one-time accident? A hay-based vendetta? A tragic barn loft incident? We'll never know. But somewhere in Baltimore's past, hay met gravity, and the city said, never again. So if you're planning a dramatic hay-themed balcony performance, maybe rethink it or do it from the first floor. Safety first, bales later. 5. And back to New Hampshire, where things just keep getting more bizarre. It's illegal to sell your clothes to pay off a casino debt. So if you hit a losing streak and think, well, I've still got this jacket, think again. In New Hampshire, your dignity may leave the poker table, but your shirt has to stay. Apparently, the law decided it's better to be bankrupt than half-naked. A questionable priority, but hey, at least your bankruptcy hearing will be well-dressed. 6. In Minnesota, if a woman dares to put on a red suit, strap on a white beard, and let out a jolly ho-ho-ho, she might find herself on the naughty list with the law. That's because, technically, women portraying Santa Claus can be jailed for up to 30 days. Who wrote this law, the Grinch? It's unclear if this is a war on holiday spirit or a misguided attempt to protect Santa's image, but it raises serious questions. Like, what happens if Mrs. Claus fills in while Santa's on PTO? Is there an undercover elf task force ready to pounce? Either way, Minnesota is apparently where feminism goes to die in December. 7. In Oklahoma, dogs aren't just pets. They're potential public menaces, if there are 3 or more of them together. According to state law, a group of 3 or more dogs must have a special permit signed by the mayor. Not a joke. So, next time you're walking your pups and see a third one sniffing around, watch out. You might be operating an illegal furry gang. Somewhere in Oklahoma, there's probably a bureaucrat who had a traumatic run-in with a dog park and said, never again without paperwork. Good luck explaining that to your vet. Sorry, doc. We need a mayoral signature before Fluffy can have friends. 8. Kansas takes its beverages very seriously. So seriously that it's actually illegal to serve wine in a teacup. This isn't just snobbery. This is full-blown legislative micromanagement. You could be sipping the finest Merlot aged in French oak, but if it's in Grandma's dainty floral porcelain, you're a criminal. One has to wonder, was there a wine and tea mix-up at some point that led to social chaos? Did someone mistake a wine tasting for a garden party and unleash a scandal of epic proportions? Whatever the backstory, Kansas clearly believes that formality in glassware is a hill worth dying on. 9. In Nevada, camels have been officially banned from the highways. This law dates back to the 19th century when camels were actually imported for desert transportation. But somewhere along the way, legislators looked at a camel lumbering down the highway and decided, nope. Apparently, their humpbacked grace doesn't jive with modern traffic laws. So if you're thinking of making your grand Vegas entrance atop a camel, think again. The state may welcome Elvis impersonators in 24/7 slot machines, but not dromedary traffic jams. That's where they draw the line. Oddly enough, no one ever says a word about emus. 10. Connecticut has a law that puts the brakes hard on extreme cycling. It is illegal to ride a bicycle faster than 65 miles per hour. Now, let's be honest. Soneczko, if you're going that fast on a bike, you've either strapped yourself to a rocket or you've made a deal with gravity that ends badly. This law seems less about safety and more like a dare. You wouldn't, but just in case you do. Imagine being pulled over on your bike by a highway patrol officer. Sir, do you know how fast you were pedaling? Yes, officer. I hit Mach 1 on a downhill slope. Lance Armstrong's ghost just did a double take. 11. Illinois has a law that makes it illegal to give a lit cigar to a dog, cat, or any other domesticated animal. That's right. Apparently someone once thought, you know who needs a puff, Mr. Whiskers? And the government said, absolutely not. Now, while it's comforting to know animal welfare is being taken seriously, you do have to wonder how we got here. Was there a canine cigar lounge scandal? A smoky poker game involving a poodle with a taste for Cubans? Either way, the message is clear. If your pet's trying to light one up, maybe it's time for obedience school. Or rehab. 12. In West Virginia, it is literally illegal to whistle underwater. Yes, underwater. Now, on the surface, pun intended, this sounds like a joke. But it's real. Which brings us to the obvious question. Who managed to whistle underwater in the first place? And why did it upset the state so much that they passed legislation? Was there a rogue scuba jazz band wreaking havoc in the local lakes? A synchronized swimming team getting too jazzy? Either way, Vermont's not alone in weird aquatic behavior laws anymore. West Virginia's taking its place in the underwater no-fun zone. No tunes in the deep end, folks. 13. Connecticut draws the line at floppy pickles. According to state law, a pickle must bounce to be considered legally edible. Yes, bounce. As in, drop it and watch it go boing. If it just thuds? Sorry, that's contraband. This isn't a food standard, it's a sport. Somewhere, a group of lawmakers was apparently so betrayed by a limp cucumber that they demanded state-certified crunch. You can't just taste quality in Connecticut, you have to test it with a table. Honestly, it's less of a snack and more of a performance review. The pickles here have a resume. 14. In North Dakota, it's illegal to go to bed with your shoes on. Sounds like a cozy comfort regulation, but dig a little deeper and you'll find the real enemy, muddy boots and dirty sheets. This law seems like it came from a very specific kind of rage. Probably a spouse saying, I've had enough after years of cowboy boots on clean pillowcases. But it also raises important philosophical questions like, what counts as bed? Couch naps? Recliners? Asking for a friend who naps in hiking boots? Either way, in North Dakota, bedtime, sometimes barefoot time, no exceptions. 15. California's stance on frog jumping contests is clear. If the frog dies during the competition, you may not eat it. That's not only illegal, it's disrespectful to the sport. Because apparently, honoring your amphibian athlete doesn't include turning them into dinner. It's part of a long tradition tied to the Calaveras County Fair, where frog jumping is a real thing, and those frogs are borderline celebrities. Think of it this way, you wouldn't barbecue a racehorse, would you? Well, in California, frogs get the same VIP treatment. The law draws a line. Either they jump or they rest in peace, not in pieces. 16. New Hampshire has officially banned collecting seaweed at night. Yep, if you're the kind of person who wakes up at 2 a.m. thinking, you know what would really hit the spot? A seaweed haul. Think again. The law was likely created back in the day to prevent midnight harvesting sprees that depleted local shores. But today, it just sounds like the state's at war with kelp-based night owls. So if you're in the Granite State and feeling sneaky with your bucket and rake after sunset, you're not a rebel, you're an outlaw with a salty agenda. 17. In Tennessee, sharing your Netflix password is, wait for it, technically illegal. That's right. The volunteer state says no to voluntary logins. Under Tennessee law, sharing subscription credentials can be classified as theft of services, which means that letting your cousin watch Stranger Things on your account could get you in hot water. Sure, Netflix may only send a warning email, but Tennessee's like, this is a felony, y'all. So maybe think twice before being the generous streaming hero. In the eyes of the law, you're not a good friend, you're a digital outlaw. 18. Virginia lawmakers once decided that tickling women was a bridge too far. According to this charmingly antiquated law, it's illegal to tickle a woman, just women. Gentlemen, apparently you're fair game. The logic here is murky at best. Was this to protect modesty, prevent flirtatious crime waves, or just a reaction to one really awkward incident involving feather dusters? Whatever the backstory, Virginia took a firm stance on unsolicited giggles. So if you're feeling playful in the Old Dominion, better keep those fingers to yourself, or risk being cuffed by the fun police. 19. Vermont wins the prize for most absurd dental drama, with a law that requires women to get their husband's written permission before wearing false teeth. That's right, dentures require spousal clearance. It's like the 1800s called and said, make oral autonomy optional. Not only is this wildly outdated, it's also creepy. Imagine showing up at the dentist and being asked for a permission slip from your husband. Oh, you want to chew again? Better talk to Bob. If this law were enforced today, Vermont would be facing a full-on dental revolution. 20. In some Kansas cities, yelling or making loud noises from balconies or windows is strictly prohibited. That's right, Romeo-style serenades, public arguments, or enthusiastic karaoke performances from your second-floor apartment? Illegal. Apparently, Kansas decided to trade balcony drama for eternal silence. The law seems like it was written after one too many people shouted, "Woo!" during game night. Or maybe someone tried opera in a bathrobe. Either way, the message is clear. If you've got something to say, keep it inside, both emotionally and architecturally. 21. Alaska's got a law that says you can't wake up a sleeping bear just to take a photo. And honestly, do you need a law for that? If your idea of a great vacation shot involves poking a hibernating grizzly with a selfie stick, you deserve every consequence coming your way, legally or barely. This rule feels like the government stepping in to say, if common sense won't stop you, maybe the legal system will. So yeah, keep the wildlife wild, the bears asleep, and your Instagram feed bear-free unless you're cool with becoming lunch with filters. 22. North Carolina once had a very specific agricultural dilemma. People were using elephants to plow cotton fields. Yes, elephants. So lawmakers stepped in and said, that's enough jumbo nonsense. It's unclear how common this was. Was there a rogue circus farm hybrid? Did someone think, why use a tractor when I've got this 10,000-pound work buddy? The ban may seem random today, but it's probably a win for both modern farming and exhausted elephants everywhere. No more trunk-to-soil labor contracts, thank you very much. 23. In Seattle, there's an old law that says women can't sit on a man's lap on public transit without placing a pillow between them, or risk 6 months in jail. 6 months. So basically, if you're on the bus and your girlfriend gets cozy without a cushion buffer, you might end up with matching jumpsuits. One can only assume this law came from a long-lost war on public affection, or maybe the city just had too many PDA-induced back injuries. Either way, next time you're commuting through Seattle, don't forget your emotional support throw pillow. 24. In New York, don't even think about greeting someone with that classic childhood move, thumb on the nose, fingers wiggling. That kind of playful taunt is actually illegal. Apparently, somewhere along the line, New Yorkers decided that juvenile gestures were too powerful to be left unregulated. Was there a street gang of sarcastic toddlers causing chaos in the 30s? Did someone lose a duel over a nose wiggle? Who knows, but one thing's for sure. In the Empire State, keep your hands to yourself unless you want your next joke followed by a court date. 25. Arizona doesn't mess around with smiles or cacti. There's an alleged law that says adults over 18 can't smile if they're missing more than 2 teeth. And while that one sounds more like urban legend with dental anxiety, the cactus part? That's real. Cutting down a saguaro cactus can land you up to 25 years in prison. That's longer than some grand theft sentences. These iconic plants are federally protected, and Arizona treats them like desert royalty. So if you're out hiking and get the urge to take a souvenir, maybe settle for a postcard, Sonichko. It's safer and won't cost you a quarter century. 26. Maine took a bold stance on skydiving etiquette and made it illegal to step out of a plane while it's in flight. Yes, that means exactly what it sounds like. Apparently, someone out there thought the best time to disembark was somewhere between cruising altitude and gravity. Whether this law was made to prevent mid-air daredevils or one particularly adventurous passenger with commitment issues, we may never know. But rest assured, if you get the urge to walk out mid-flight in Maine, you won't just meet the ground, you'll meet the law first. 27. Illinois banned fishing while sitting on a giraffe's neck. And if you're wondering, how did this become a law? Welcome to the club. Were giraffes once roaming the Great Lakes? Did someone turn a zoo animal into a mobile fishing perch? Whatever inspired it, we have to admire the creativity. You just know this wasn't hypothetical. This was someone's real plan. And Illinois said, "Absolutely not, Bob. Get off the giraffe and buy a boat like everyone else." 28. In Georgia, eating fried chicken with a fork is considered an actual crime in some towns. Fingers only, folks. This law started as a publicity stunt in Gainesville but was technically enforced when a tourist dared to use cutlery on the sacred bird. A cop arrested her, jokingly, but the message was clear. Utensils are for salad, not Southern cuisine. So next time you're down south, remember, if it's greasy, crispy, and delicious, grab it like you mean it. Anything less is a crime against poultry. 29. Massachusetts law says you can't have a gorilla in the backseat of your car. It's not a ban on owning a gorilla, just where you seat them. Apparently, backseat gorillas are a no-go. So if you're road tripping with your primate pal, make sure he rides shotgun. Was this law made after a bad zoo escape? A jungle joyride gone wrong? Probably. But either way, it's proof that Massachusetts takes carpooling very seriously. Also raises an important follow-up. Is the gorilla required to wear a seatbelt? 30. In Los Angeles, a husband can't beat his wife with a belt wider than 2 inches unless she consents. Yes, this horrifying relic is real legal text, though obviously outdated and unenforced today. The fact that the law regulated belt width instead of, banning the act altogether, shows just how messed up legal history can be. Thankfully, domestic violence laws have since evolved, but the absurd specificity of this one remains a reminder of how bizarre and deeply flawed old codes of conduct were. Consent or not, leave the belt in the closet, pal. 31. Massachusetts wants its nights silent, legally. According to one bizarre law, it's actually prohibited to snore unless all bedroom windows are closed and locked. That's right. If you're a noisy sleeper, the state expects you to soundproof yourself like a rebellious saxophonist in a quiet neighborhood. Who's enforcing this? The sleep patrol? Window inspectors with decibel meters? Imagine the citation. Sir, you were caught exhaling with gusto at 3:17 a.m. with your window cracked open. That's a Class S for snorer. So take it seriously, Sonichko. Massachusetts doesn't just care about your dreams, it cares about how loudly you pursue them. 32. In South Carolina, it's illegal to dance on a crosswalk. That's right. Channeling your inner Michael Jackson on the way to Starbucks could technically get you fined. This is basically the anti-Beatles Abbey Road law. It's unclear whether this was meant to curb traffic incidents or just bad choreography. But the Palmetto State isn't here for spontaneous public boogie. So keep those tap shoes in check and save your best moves for the dance floor, or risk turning your morning commute into a felony footloose. 33. Virginia has a law that prohibits spitting on seagulls. Yes, seagulls. As if the birds didn't already suffer enough being professional sandwich thieves, now they've got legal protection from airborne disrespect. Honestly, who even tries to spit on a seagull? Was there an epidemic of bird-targeted loogies? Either way, the law is clear. No spitting, even if they steal your fries and poop on your windshield. In Virginia, the birds win. It's their coast now. You're just a guest with manners. 34. Kansas bans shooting rabbits from a motorboat. Which means, yes, Someone once did exactly that. It's not just illegal, it's oddly specific, suggesting that this was less a law and more a reaction. Was there a rogue bunny hunter with a boat and a vengeance? A floating Bugs Bunny incident gone wrong? Either way, Kansas is putting its foot down. Shoot your rabbits on land like a normal weirdo. Water is for fishing, not aquatic bunny warfare. 35. In Tennessee, if you've ever participated in a duel, yes, like an old-school 10 paces and draw duel, you are permanently banned from holding public office or doing business in the state. Apparently, if your resume includes pistols at dawn, you're considered a little too dramatic for tax law or city council meetings. While this law may sound outdated, it's technically still on the books, just in case a time-traveling Alexander Hamilton shows up wanting to run for mayor. Duels. Disqualification. Bureaucracy. Bullets. 36. In Massachusetts, there's a very specific law that forbids taking photos under someone's skirt, also known as upskirting. And while this may sound obvious to any decent human being, it actually had to be codified after legal loopholes allowed some creeps to get away with it. So now, it's officially illegal, as it should be. The lesson? If your camera is pointed anywhere it shouldn't be, you're not a photographer, you're a future defendant. Massachusetts made sure privacy has legs, and those legs are legally protected. 37. Oklahoma lawmakers apparently had to spell this out. You can't make love to a car. That's not a metaphor. It's an actual law. Somewhere in the dusty archives of Oklahoma's legal system is a rule that says, "Thou shalt not get too romantic with a Mustang." Was this the result of one very misguided grease monkey? Probably. But one thing's certain. If you're in Oklahoma and start whispering sweet nothings to your exhaust pipe, you might want to take a long look at your life choices from a safe, platonic distance. 38. In Maryland, taking a lion to the movies is strictly prohibited, which really puts a damper on your plans if Simba's your wingman. While the law was likely made with safety in mind, you have to wonder, how many people were showing up to matinees with jungle royalty before someone said, "Okay, enough?" Whether it was a circus gone rogue or a very enthusiastic Tarzan cosplayer, the message is clear. Lions may love The Lion King, but they'll have to catch it on streaming like the rest of us. 39. In New York City, the penalty for jumping off a building is, wait for it, the death penalty. Which feels like someone didn't really think that one through. The law itself is more of a relic from the past, obviously unenforceable today, but it's still technically there. The irony is staggering. Don't do that, or we'll punish you after you've already splatted. It's less of a deterrent and more of a posthumous punchline. If Gotham wants to scare people off rooftops, maybe invest in better guardrails, not ghost trials. 40. Rhode Island says no to pickle tossing, specifically from moving vehicles. That's right, it's illegal to hurl pickles onto the highway. Why? Because apparently, flying brine bombs are a serious concern in the ocean state. Somewhere, a sour rebellion must have happened, and legislators responded with the only weapon they had, the law. So, next time you're riding through Providence and feel tempted to chuck your leftover gherkin, remember, one slip, and you're not just littering. You're committing pickle-based crime. 41. In Denver, Colorado, it's actually illegal to let your neighbor borrow your vacuum cleaner. That's right. Lending a helping hand could land you in legal trouble, at least when it comes to dirt-sucking appliances. No word on why Denver decided to target vacuum sharing, but maybe it all started with one neighbor who never returned it. Or worse, returned it full. Either way, in the mile-high city, generosity stops at the Hoover. You can share cookies, rakes, life advice, but not your Dyson. That's a municipal boundary you do not cross. 42. Nebraska, a state completely surrounded by land on all sides, proudly prohibits whale fishing. It's unclear whether this law was made as a prank, a dare, or by someone who really misunderstood the geography of their own state. Either way, if you're in Nebraska and have plans involving harpoons and humpbacks, forget it. No whales, no oceans, no excuses. It's like banning snowball fights in the Sahara. But hey, at least they're ready, just in case the Pacific suddenly expands 1,500 miles inland. 43. Oregon has a law that prohibits hunters from letting their dogs loose to hunt other dogs that are enclosed. Yes, this is a real thing. Apparently, someone looked at a fenced-in dog and thought, "That's the prey I need," and Oregon said, "Absolutely not." Dog-on-dog hunting is not just weird and morally twisted, it's now officially off the legal table. So to any would-be canine gladiators out there, leash it, rethink it, and maybe go hug a golden retriever instead. 44. Arizona has a law that limits the number of dildos in a household to 2. If you own 3 or more, congratulations. You're officially running a situation. This law, still on the books in some areas, feels like someone got extremely uncomfortable during a town hall meeting and decided to legislate their way out of it. Apparently, Arizona's okay with desert heat, but not too much bedroom electricity. So if you're planning an adult toy party, maybe cross the state line first. Or prepare to hide one in the dishwasher. 45. In Colorado, riding in a black car on Sundays is illegal. The law doesn't ban driving a black car, just riding in one, which suggests that either black cars were once considered too classy for the Sabbath, or someone had a vendetta against goth chauffeurs. Other colors? Totally fine. Beige, pink, lime green, go wild. But if it's black, best to Uber on Saturday or paint your ride a shade more legally chill. Colorado may be cool with recreational weed, but apparently not with stylish Sunday sedans. 46. In Montana, it's against the law to leave a sheep unattended in the cab of your truck. Apparently, this state doesn't just care about livestock, it cares about their emotional well-being. No sheep left behind. Was this law born from one too many woolly jailbreaks? A traumatic road trip involving a lonely ram? We may never know, but the message is clear. In Montana, if you're hauling sheep, you better provide companionship, or at least let them ride shotgun with some decent tunes. 47. Pennsylvania has a law that forbids catching fish with your mouth, which is great news for fish, and terrible news for anyone auditioning for the next season of Hillbilly Ninja Warrior. You have to wonder, how often did this happen for it to need legislation? Was there a local legend of a man who could outswim a trout with nothing but teeth and determination? Either way, leave the mouth fishing to bears and cartoon characters. In Pennsylvania, you're expected to use a rod, not your jaw. 48. In Washington, Bigfoot is legally protected. Not kidding. Harassing, harming, or even attempting to capture Sasquatch is a punishable offense. So basically, Bigfoot has better legal representation than some humans. Whether or not he exists, the Evergreen State has already drafted his defense. It's a strange case of myth meets municipal code, but hey, better safe than sorry. If Bigfoot ever shows up in court, Washington can proudly say, "We had your back the whole time, big guy." 49. In Ohio, it is illegal to get a fish drunk. Which raises several questions, mainly, how? And more importantly, why? Was someone out there dumping beer in a koi pond and calling it a party? Ohio lawmakers clearly weren't taking any chances with tipsy trout and buzzed bass roaming the waterways. Fish aren't here for your booze-fueled hijinks, they just want to swim sober and spawn in peace. So if you're thinking of turning your goldfish into a drinking buddy, maybe just stick to a houseplant. And that's a wrap on America's finest legal head-scratchers. Got a favorite? Or no one even dumber? Drop it in the comments, Sonichko. Hit like, subscribe, and remember, if you're gonna break the law, at least make it a weird one.